Let's starting again the digging of realm of biogeography. If you didn't check the first part, please check it out as well. You can also check out more cool stuff on this channel. Both the climate and therefore the flora begins transitioning to new Arctic. An interesting effect of this is that even though new Arctic animals may be more widely adaptable in terms of animals especially adapted for tropical rainforests, those of the neotropics still reign supreme, allowing other neotropical animals to infiltrate deeper into North America and pushing the line of the neotropics as far north as the Central American rainforests would reach overall. This makes the whole of Mesoamerica a tremendous transitional zone, filling countries like Mexico with some of the most diverse collections of flora and fauna to be found anywhere in the world. A similar process of recombining realms can be found when looking at India. You know now India broke from Gondwana approximately 130 million years ago and spent 80 million years adrift in the middle of what would become the Indian Ocean like South America. This isolation bred a very unique biota, and soon enough a distinct Indian realm came about, one derived from the greater tropical realm. Primates especially had a field day, having come about only 70 million years ago. Their only route to colonizing India would have been a random rafting event, meaning it was likely only a single primate species that found its way aboard this leaving ship, but over the next 50 million years this common ancestor would come to diversify into a number of species, what would become gibbons, macaques and langurs. This isolation didn't last, however, and around 50 million years ago India came into contact with southern Asia, opening up a new arena for pale Arctic and index species to interchange. The only difference here is that while yes, mixing did occur, the arrival of India also led to the building of the Himalayas, which served as the world's biggest barrier for traversing plants and animals, while these mountains shielded most of India, preserving much of the Indian realm. An opening was left going through southeastern Asia, leading to a fusion of Indian and Malayan species, the result being the modern-day realm of Indomalaya. This is all made slightly more complicated by the fact that only a few thousand years ago lower sea levels brought much more of the Malay archipelago above the ocean, forming the Sunderland. This opened an avenue for Indomalaya flora and fauna to expand. This shelf reached and remained here even after rising sea levels turned much of the region back into scattered islands. The Indomalaya realm doesn't include all of these islands, however, has to do with Australia, also once belonging to Gondwana. Adjoined Australia and Antarctica broke apart from the supercontinent at roughly the same time that India did. The two southern continents remained attached in isolation for another 40 million years, together forging a new Australia realm. Rewind a bit and it was approximately 100 million years ago that the first marsupials evolved in modern-day North America. They migrated south, possibly using the Caribbean islands to colonize South America, while subsequently going extinct further north. South America remained attached to Antarctica by its southern tip until around 30 million years ago, giving marsupials a pathway to expand further, but it was also around this time that the Southeast Indian Ridge started breaking the continents apart, literally sending Antarctica to the shadow realm. While Australia got lucky and pushed further northward right in the middle of this about 50 million years ago, when the two landmasses weren't too far removed, yet a single marsupial managed to raft over to Australia, where it found a land devoid of most other mammals on account of the continent's isolation without any mammalian competition. Marsupials had finally found the one place where they could become the dominant animals of the realm. This dominance allowed these single ancestral species to diversify into a variety of forms and functions, with herbivores like kangaroos, koalas and wombats, and carnivores like quolls, Tasmanian devils and thylacines. The Australic realm, of course, included a lot more different animals, but it's easier to talk about specific examples than to mention every single living thing that is found its way here. But as time went on, the Australian landmass went through some changes, losing Zealandia while building up mass towards its front that would become New Guinea as well as surrounding islands. These islands would come to share in the biology of Australia, in the process forming the Australasian realm. But as these landmasses pushed further and further north, they eventually came into close proximity with the Indonesian islands and by extension the Indomalaya realm. So, despite on a surface level appearing to be part of the same archipelago, there are in fact two distinct groups of islands separated by every biogeographer's favorite line, the Wallace line, defining the border between Indomalaya and Australasia. As we should all know by now, there are no straight or clear lines in nature, and as a result of their proximity a new interchange has kick-started between the two realms as plants and animals cross the narrow waterways between islands, blending species from both realms together. There was Antarctica, the southernmost component of Gondwana. For the longest time Antarctica was a highly habitable land and enjoyed a golden age brought about by the global greenhouse climate of the Earth. At the time during this period, it would have closely resembled neighboring Australia, which stayed connected until about 100 million years ago, finding its spot at the South Pole by around 80 million years ago. Even at the bottom of the planet, Antarctica remained warm enough for life to thrive for another 30 million years or so. In this time, Antarctica's biology likely diverged substantially from Gondwana and even Australian biology, to the point where a new biogeographic realm was realized, the Antarctic realm. But as we all know, the planet began to cool as it entered a new ice age just 3 million years ago, and nowhere on Earth was affected more by this change than Antarctica. Year after year, temperatures steadily dropped. Soon enough, ice began to build up and didn't stop building until the whole continent was under literal miles of ice, extinguishing virtually all native Antarctic life. In the process, putting the wide-scale extinction aside, though the true shame of this is that all the fossils were left behind now lay buried under miles of ice, meaning whatever unique biology that could have developed here before the freeze remains utterly hidden and unknowable to us now, leaving Antarctica's paleobiology as a huge blind spot within the field altogether. This leaves the Earth with 7 distinct terrestrial realms. There's actually a little bit of an eighth realm, and no, it's not Zealandia, but it's actually not that far off either. The Pacific Ocean is the site of a lot of new land-building processes, both as a result of tectonic uplifts and continuous volcanism, constructing islands entirely independent of all other lands on Earth with no natural history. To draw from each newly created island must build their own distinct flora and fauna from whatever seeds birds or the tides may bring over. Being situated within the Pacific Ocean, which covers a third of the planet's surface, means the islands of the Pacific are perfectly situated to receive inputs from nearly all of the biogeographic realms. Save for the Afrotropic, what's been created as a fascinating laboratory where all sorts of different combinations between realms can take place, producing a unique array of biology on every single island. If this wide range of potential inputs wasn't enough, once these castaway species reach their final island destinations from here, they set off on their very own journey of evolutionary exploration, one that's defined by whatever peculiar environmental conditions are harbored therein. In turn, it is these island dwellers that are most active in seeding whatever new islands might arise within the Pacific volcanic arena. What this all means is that while this prismatic gene pool makes it impossible to generalize the oceanic realm, it nonetheless constitutes in and of itself a distinct biota connected through a disconnection to any others, universal in its uncategorized ability. Hawaii is a fascinating case study of all of these principles at work. Not only does the Hawaiian island chain represent the largest islands within the realm, but also some of the most isolated, being 3,700 kilometers from the nearest continental lands of California, part of the New York Deck, 5,300 kilometers from pale Arctic lands, 8,500 kilometers from the Indomalaya realm, 6,400 kilometers from Australasia, and 8,400 kilometers from the Neotropics. Despite being located closest to North America, prevailing ocean currents lead the waters of the northern Pacific to circulate counterclockwise, acting as a conveyor belt delivering material from all over the ocean to these islands. This explains why, when analyzing the plant species present and deciphering their realm of origin, it was found that Indomalaya was the greatest source of native Hawaiian plant species. Having supplied 21% of Hawaiian flora despite being the furthest away, the new Arctic was the second most influential. That's unsurprising, supplying 19%. What's really interesting, however, is just how much was contributed by other areas. East Asia was next, contributing 17 of native Hawaiian species. The Neotropics supplied 12, and even 9% originated from faraway Australasia. Still about 22% of the Hawaiian gene pool that's unaccounted for, and this is truly where the eighth biogeographic realm comes into play. As all of the islands of the Pacific also receive influx from all of the other islands of the Pacific, and it's estimated that an additional 11% of the Hawaiian gene pool comes from other Pacific islands. This leaves a final 11 of native Hawaiian species with unknown origins, because while figuring out the natural history of things like this can be extremely tricky. But consider this: in the last 400,000 years, a new island has begun forming off the southeastern edge of Hawaii, forming the Loei High Seamount. While Lushai remains 975 meters underwater today, with an average growth rate of 5 meters per millennia. At some point over the next 200,000 years, a new island will breach above the ocean. Once this occurs, sure, Loei High will receive inputs from all around the Pacific. But the most immediate donor will of course be the other Hawaiian islands. What this appears to suggest is a chain of donation from one island to the next in perpetuity, and looking at how far back the Hawaiian islands stretch, we begin to see the potential for a lineage passed down from island to island to island all the way to the present. It's possible that this inherited Hawaiian biota may in fact be the source of the remaining unidentified 11% of species native to the islands altogether. So what do you think? Is this a better way to divide and talk about our world compared to the 6 or 7 or 8 continents, or are you still unconvinced? Well, either way, let me know by leaving a comment, and if you enjoyed this trip into the world of biogeography and would like to see me dive deeper into the field, then don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any more videos. Thanks for watching.